Retired Special Forces Sergeant Chris Vaughn returns to his hometown after 8 years of service, planning to work at the local sawmill. Unfortunately, the mill has been shut down, leaving many townsfolk jobless. Sheriff Stan Watkins approaches Chris, recognizing his military background, and insists on giving him a ride home. Initially, Chris refuses. At home, he is warmly welcomed by his parents and sister, Michelle. During Chris's absence, his nephew has grown up a lot. The next morning, while fixing the porch, his friend Ray arrives. Chris offers him a beer, but Ray mentions that he has been sober for a year, avoiding alcohol and drugs. Ray invites Chris to play football with their high school friends. On the field, they face off against Jay Hamilton and his crew. Chris and Jay were good friends during their school years. The Hamilton family is one of the wealthiest in the area, owning the field, the closed sawmill, and the biggest casino in the region. As the match begins, Hamilton's team plays aggressively, deliberately trying to injure their opponents. Chris notices Pete and his classmates smoking weed in the stands. Near the end of the game, Booth from Hamilton's team intentionally kicks Chris in the knee, aggravating an old injury. Before leaving, Jay invites Chris and his friends to the casino. Chris advises his nephew to quit smoking weed, but the boy just smirks and rides off on his motorcycle. That night, Chris, Ray, and a few friends visit the casino. Inside, it's bustling with hopeful gamblers and numerous attractive women. Jay invites them to the VIP room before stepping away. Chris's friends pay for a private dance for him. However, Chris is upset to see that his high school sweetheart, Danny, is the dancer. Embarrassed, she runs away upon recognizing him. Chris returns to the main area, where his old friend has gambled away all his money. Chris notices the dealer swapping dice with weighted ones and demands the return of the lost money. The dealer calls security, leading to a fight. Chris takes down several guards before being subdued with a taser. The guards carry him to the basement, where their leader, Booth, rips off his military dog tag and inflicts knife wounds. Believing him dead, they dump him on the road. Miraculously, Chris survives and is found by a truck driver. Doctors save his life, and he recovers at home. During his recovery, he spends a lot of time with Ray and Pete. His nephew frequently visits, bringing him food. A few weeks later, Chris feels much better and resumes daily training. While fixing his house, Jay arrives to apologize for his thug's actions and offers Chris a job as the casino's head of security. Chris declines. Hamilton tries to compensate him with money, but Chris refuses to take the dirty cash. Chris goes to Sheriff Watkins to inquire about the assault case. To his surprise, the sheriff says the case was closed after an internal investigation. Watkins explains that the casino became the town's main source of revenue after the sawmill closed, so it cannot be shut down. Disillusioned, Chris leaves, vowing not to let things slide. Returning home, he learns that Pete nearly died from a drug overdose but was saved in time. Pete reveals it was crystal meth. Chris confronts Pete's friends, who admit they got the drugs from casino security guards. Enraged, Chris grabs his shotgun and heads to the casino despite his father's protests. Once there, he changes his mind, leaving the gun in the car and taking a long plank instead. Inside, he smashes slot machines and fights off attacking guards. In a one-on-one fight, Chris defeats Booth and reclaims his dog tag. Before leaving, he smashes the mirrored glass where Jay had been watching the events unfold. The police arrest Chris and throw him in jail. His lawyer advises him to plead guilty to reduce his sentence. During the jury trial, witnesses claim Chris went on a rampage, smashing the casino and attacking employees without cause. Realizing his lawyer is in Jay's pocket, Chris decides to represent himself. Vaughn explains to the jury that the town is mired in chaos, debauchery, and drugs because of Hamilton's casino. Chris declares that he plans to run for sheriff in the upcoming election and clean up the town's filth. Lastly, he shows the scars that Jay's thugs left on his body. The jury acquits the guy, and the townspeople elect him as the new sheriff. On his first day on the job, Watkins, through gritted teeth, congratulates Vaughn and vouches for each of the guys in the precinct. Nevertheless, Chris fires all the cops, knowing full well that there were corrupt skanks working under Watkins. When Jay and his girlfriend speed off in their Porsche, Vaughn catches up with him and demands to see his ID. Rich threatens the new sheriff. Chris then tells him to fix the driver's taillights, after which he smashes them with a bat. Vaughn arrives at Ray's house and offers to be a cop. The friend refuses at first, as he himself has been hard on dope in the past. Then Chris asks him to help deal with the drugs in the city, and Ray agrees to wear a badge. The cops catch a few small-time dealers, and then come upon Booth, who has a weighty bag of white powder in his pocket. Ray, who is experienced in the business, is convinced that there may be something illegal in the pickup truck. The car was sawed and dismantled for parts, turning it into scrap metal. After a little rest, the sheriff and his aide continue to paint the Dodge. It turned out that there was nothing hidden in the car.
He's clean.
Chris places the drug dealer under arrest and decides to stay the night at the station, asking Ray to spend the night at his house, as the bandits will surely want revenge. As Vaughn is about to walk in, Danny happily shares that she has quit her job at the casino. The pair kiss tenderly and make love. When Jay learns that Booth has been tied up, he is furious and orders his badasses into action. At that moment, Chris's Ford goes airborne. Car after car yells from his cell a satisfied Booth. Buildings began to be machine gunned by the former sheriff and his deputies, Booth cheering them on. At the same time, Ray woke up to the smell of burnt bread. The Vaughn's home was broken into by security guards from the casino and attacked the family. Ray was shot in the leg, but still helped the kid escape. He managed to stab one of the attackers with a knife and then knocked him out. Chris realized he was trapped, so he crawled into the basement. Booth is no longer having fun under fire. He asks Chris to save him. The sheriff doesn't mind, but the criminal does. First, he has to tell him where the lab is located. Booth confesses that Hamilton keeps everything at the sawmill. Now I see why it had to be shut down. That's when Booth gets clobbered by his own. Meanwhile, Ray is trying to rescue the hostages. He shot one of the perps with a shotgun. The other one was thrown down the stairs by Michelle. He grabs a shotgun and starts firing it at Ray. The machine gunners went quiet for a while. Chris took advantage of this and took out two of the gunmen from under the floor. Only the former sheriff was left. He ran into the building and started shooting the floor, hoping to hit Chris. The rogue was distracted by Danny. Thanks to this, Warrior was able to finish off the corrupt cop, tries to cope with the enemy and Ray. He has no desire to kill another person. Therefore, when the bandit ran out of ammunition, he ran to solve the issue hand-to-hand. Really, he got so carried away that he almost beat him to death. Ray stopped Chris and also got hit in the face. The first attacker woke up and pulled a gun on his friends. He was shot by the father, who did pick up the gun. The family is saved. Now the lab has to be dealt with. Chris drove to an abandoned sawmill and began searching the plant. Soon he discovered what he was looking for. Hiding near the lab was Hamilton. He beckoned Chris over to him and pressed the pedal. Luke opened up under the man, but he was able to hold on to the saw. Hamilton began beating him with the stick, but eventually they both went down. After checking the pipes and equipment for strength, the businessman threw Chris to the ground afterward. He twisted his leg, but still managed to run away and hide in the woods. Hamilton grabbed an axe and followed him. The sheriff righted his knee, but after Jay soon caught up with him and tried to chop him down. But instead, the two of them rolled down the hill. Hamilton picked up the axe again, and Chris, out of habit, armed himself with a log. The blonde was a tough guy and almost took the veteran down, but the latter rallied and beat Hamilton, pinned him against a tree, and broke both his legs with the log, then arrested him.
This is my town.
Chris and Ray shut down the casino and worked to reopen the sawmill. What did you think of the movie Walking Tall? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.